I got just over a pound of tuna steaks earlier today with my wife, and I want to figure out how to make the perfect sesame crust on them, but there's so many different ways to do the coating. So I'm gonna test out 3 different, what seem like core ways to do it. So we've got our naked way, we've got the oil way, so we're gonna coat it in just a little bit of avocado oil. Then the third way we're gonna do is coating it with a little bit of egg whites, and this all happens before we coat it in the sesame seed mix. Now, I haven't done all of these methods, so I'm genuinely curious which way wins, and me doing these 3 ways means you don't have to do this experiment yourself, so hopefully it saves you a little time. Keep in mind too, if you enjoy this video, give it a like, subscribe to my channel. It helps me a ton and keeps me doing this, which I'm having a ton of fun with. So past that, we're gonna get into the ingredients. I've got just over a pound of tuna, like I said. I'm gonna cut this one in half so we have our 3 different ways. For the first way, it's gonna be naked, but we're gonna saute it in a little avocado oil. The second way, we're gonna coat it in a little avocado oil before mixing it into our sesame seed mix. Now, I'm using white and black. Looks a little nicer. Does it add to the taste? Probably, maybe a little. I don't know. I'm gonna have to taste each actually. I don't know that to answer that question. For our third way, we're gonna use egg whites to coat it in before dipping them in our sesame seeds. I'm also gonna teach you how to make a nice tangy, sweet garlic sauce to dip it in. Kind of like a ponzu, a little different. For our citrus, we're gonna use lemon. For our sweetness, we're gonna use honey. We're gonna use some soy sauce, some rice vinegar. This is so tasty. And we're gonna grate in some fresh garlic. Now, if you have any fresh herbs like chives or green onions or even like shallots, or if you want to really thinly slice jalapenos, you can mix that into the sauce as well to add a little spiciness or extra flavor to it. I don't have any of those items I just listed. I'm kind of bummed I don't, but if you want to give it a try, go for it. Since we're testing different ways, like I said, I'm going to cut this bigger piece in half so we have 3 semi-equal sizes. This one's a little thicker, but it's all right. I'm even going to go as far as cleaning the pan in between searing each of these so we can get a real good experiment going here. All right, now it's not just in my head. I think the black ones taste a tiny bit stronger. They're maybe almost spicier, kind of, like more flavorful, like a bolder flavor. That's the word I'm looking for. Give it a taste test yourself and see. So thankfully I have probably just enough sesame seeds to do this right, but we're gonna mix in equal part white, equal part black. Just shake it a bit. Now for the first piece, we're gonna coat it naked. That means no oil, no egg white or nothing. Gonna toss it on, and the tuna is so moist. Make sure you get the sides of it as well. Make sure it's got a real nice coat on it, especially since we don't have a binding agent. We'll see how this first test goes. Give it a little shake. We're going to place it aside. We're going to give it a little shake again, and we should have just enough to do this again, but with the oil instead. For the oil test, we're going to pour a little bit in a small bowl, and we're going to have our brush ready to go. For our oil one, we're going to lightly coat all sides in oil. You don't want to completely drench it, but just enough to coat it to help the seeds stick and produce maybe a nicer sear. Wait till the end. If you're really crazy, throw down in the comments which method you think will win. And don't cheat. Don't zoom to the end and then answer, okay? This one's nice and coated in olive oil. Nice little shear to it. Now we're going to coat it, and I guess we might be able to see if this wins right off the bat, right? Because it might pick up the seeds that much better. That's kind of my thought with it, but I don't know. Let's see. I don't know, maybe a tiny bit more, but honestly not as much as I would have imagined, to be completely honest. It's almost coming off a little more because when I pick it up, the oil makes it slide off, so I don't know. I'm not calling a red flag on this one yet, but it's definitely sticking to my fingers more, that's for sure. I'm cleaning this plate too, so there's no cheating going on, okay? It's going to be purely egg white covering it, no oil. For our egg whites, we're going to pour some in the bowl, same way as we did with the oil. And we're going to make another sesame seed mixture. All right, now we're going to coat our tuna with the egg wash, or egg whites, not egg wash. Same thing with the oil, just nice and light, nothing too crazy. We don't want it soaking in egg. Just enough. Let's see. Ooh, That is picking it up pretty nice, but kind of the same thing with the oil, you know? It's sliding off a bit. As you can see right here, my thumb just slid off a bunch of seeds. I don't know. So far, maybe my vote's changed. Maybe I think number 1 is going to win because my hands aren't throwing off the seeds as much. I'm doing this like a caveman right now. Not very graceful, as you can tell. But cooking doesn't have to be graceful. It should be messy, okay? I will say this is holding on pretty nicely. Now I'm going to wash my hands, heat up the pan. As I heat up the pan, I'm going to show you how to make this quick sauce. This dipping sauce is super easy. As I said, for our citrus, we're going to use, I think we're going to use half a lemon. Quick trick, roll your lemon. It breaks up the outer shell of the lemon basically, and will yield you a little more juice out of it. So we're going to cut our lemon in half, not sideways. We're going to cut it down the belly. It's a little easier to juice this way. We're going to get half a lemon in here. We're going to taste along the way, see how it goes. We're going to add in some soy sauce as well. Good amount, maybe about double what the lemon was-ish. We're going to add some rice vinegar, a little less than you did the soy sauce, maybe about half. We're going to add in some honey for that sweetness. And a decent amount. And we're going to grate in our garlic. If you have fresh ginger, that would be a great addition to this as well. We're going to give that a mix, and we're going to taste it and see what it's missing. That's pretty good. I'm going to add a little more rice vinegar and a little more honey for sweetness. It's a little salty from all the soy sauce. It's got a nice tang from that lemon though. It's delicious. You could use lime instead of lemon too. Oh yeah, that's delicious. We're good here. We got our dipping sauce. Now for the most exciting part. We're going to sear all the tuna. Reminder, number 1 is naked, number 2 is with oil, number 3 is with egg white. Now, I almost mixed them up when I put them in the fridge for those 3 minutes or so it took to make the sauce. But I looked back, I checked the footage. The little bit smaller one was number 1. So I made sure I checked it a couple times. So we're still good. The experiment is running well. There's no cheating. Don't skip forward to the end of this video. Before you watch the end of the video, let me know which one you think wins. I'm very curious. Pan's hot enough, so we're going to add in a little avocado oil. We want to coat the pan nicely. Now remember, this first one is naked, meaning there's no oil, no egg whites on it. Keep in mind too, when you're laying down your protein, always lay it away from you. Now this should be a pretty quick process. We only want it to get nice and crispy. We're going to go ahead and flip it now. So you can see it's got a nice little golden brown to it a little bit. Maybe not as much as we totally need. The bottom, you can hear it cooking through too. You can see it's starting to turn just a tiny bit white on the bottom. Let's see how the bottom's looking. Oh yeah, that's looking good. So now that the top and bottom are browned, or golden browned I guess we could call it, we're going to hit the sides a little bit. Some people might not sear the front and the rear, but I think it looks nice when you do. I also like it a little extra crispy on the sides. Now we're going to take number 1 off. This is the naked one, keep in mind. Now our cleaned pan is hot enough again. Number 2 has a light coat of oil on it. I'm not going to lie, the sear on it already sizzles a little more than the last one, which is pretty interesting. Probably due to the extra oil on it, right? Kind of makes sense. Since this one's sizzling a little more, we're going to check it a little early. Oh yeah, that's getting nice and crispy. We'll leave it for a tiny bit longer. Alright, we're going to flip it. Ooh, okay. Maybe that little coat of avocado oil before we press the seeds into it maybe made it that much more crispy. Definitely a little darker. Looks a little crispier, I'm not going to lie. Maybe that oil has something to do with that, which kind of makes sense. This third way is with the egg white coating. Not as much of a sizzle, which the second one really had. Even though this one didn't quite sizzle as much as the second one, which had the oil coating, it is smoking more, and that's probably because the egg whites are cooking. Kind of an interesting part of the experiment that I didn't think about until seeing it, to be honest. Now we're going to flip this one just to see how we're looking. That's kind of getting a little crispy already. So this one got a tiny bit crispy, much quicker than the other ones. Very interesting point. So we're going to pay more attention to this one and flip it a little earlier. Oh yeah. Alright, now we're going to cook it on all the sides. So this one is done much quicker, which is pretty interesting. As you can see, it's the darkest color, which is nice. But we lost more seeds on this one. So we've got number 1, which was naked. We've got number 2, which had a light coat of avocado oil. And we've got number 3 that had the egg white before seeding. Now, we can't make the decision just based off these 3 full steaks. We need to slice them. We need to taste them. So stand by. Don't tune out just yet. Ideally, we can cut each slice in one swift motion, from back to front of the knife. Just like that. And we're going to repeat. If you don't have a sharp enough knife to do this, get a knife sharpener. Because you're going to hurt yourself if you have a dull knife. So it's got a pretty nice sear to it. You can tell it's a little bit loose. It's got a little bit of golden brown to it, but not as much as these other two. Number 2 definitely has a little bit more of a golden brown color to it. It was coated in a little bit of avocado oil, so that definitely helped. We're going to cut this one a little different. It's a little more fragile. So the one with oil almost looks like a little bit of a messy sear, which is pretty interesting. Probably has to do with the way the oil cooked it up. It almost looks a little fleshier. I'm going to give it a side by side in a minute. Now we've got our third and final. Ooh, that cut through a little nicer. Ooh, this one looks pretty decadent. I'm not gonna lie. So out of 1, 2, and 3, naked oil egg white, I'm gonna say the oil was the worst one. It's kind of unruly looking in the sear, you know? It looks messy, stringy, too meaty, not uniformed, not cooked very well. Nice golden brown pieces on the crust, but not that nice. Number 1, nice uniform sear, honestly. Little pieces of golden brown crust, but not enough. Number 3, on the other hand, it's nice uniform sear, cooked very well, and it's got a really nice crisp crust on it. Now we got to do the taste test, obviously. I almost forgot to. So we're going to go for what I think looks like the worst first, the one with the oil. Tastes pretty good, but we're going to compare it. I can definitely taste the oil a little bit too on this one, actually. Now we're going to taste the one where we did nothing, the naked one. Kind of interesting. The bite is a little nicer. If we're thinking in terms of a pasta, I would consider this one more al dente, and the one cooked in oil overcooked, kind of like a loose noodle, like a mushy noodle. Now for the egg white one. Tastes the best too. It tastes much better. They taste like completely different recipes, to be completely honest, which is kind of fascinating because all I did different was the way I coated them before putting on the sesame seeds, or lack of coating. So 100% do the egg white method. That is the for sure winner. Now, if you got that right in the comments in the beginning and you didn't cheat and scroll to the end, good job. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you.